Maddux comes through.
Boy, he's making a push for that MVP.
And what Andrew says, Andrew does. It is a slam for Galarraga.
On a hot summer night in Atlanta, the Braves try to make it 3 in a row as they play Game 2 in the series with the Milwaukee Brewers. Hi, everybody. Pete Van Wieren welcoming you to Turner Field. Braves trying to keep it going tonight against Milwaukee before starting that road trip next Tuesday in Montreal, followed by the 4 games in New York. When the Braves were on that recent road trip, Don, a 3-5 record, and one uncommon problem the Braves were having on that trip, unsteady starting pitching. Well, that's turned around the last week, and that's a good sign.
Yeah, the starting pitching has been the foundation of this ball club for a long time, for all the winning years. So to see it go the other way, go a little south, is surprising. The first 16 starts, totally uncharacteristic. A lot of ball clubs might be happy with a 708 earned run average, but the Braves are used to seeing numbers like in the last 6. And there have been some guys who have really shouldered the load in the last few outings, too. Greg Maddux has turned it around. His last couple of starts have been good. And it's been good to see Kevin Millwood pitch well his last 2 outings. That's the Kevin Millwood we've watched the last couple of years, not the starts prior to that. Braves have been lucky to have John Burkett here, too. When you lose a John Smoltz, you wonder what the heck you're going to do. You wring your hands. But Burkett has given them innings. He's given them good performances. And every time he pitches, the bats seem to come around, too. The one guy that might want to sue for non-support, he's done his job. Tom Glavine's last 3 outings have been spectacular, but he's 0-2 during that stretch. He could use a few runs. Just a bump in the road, but it does surprise you when this is the foundation of the ball club, and I think the last 6 games are more indicative of what you could count on over the long haul.
It'll be Greg Maddux on the mound tonight, going for his 10th win of the season. He'll be opposed by Milwaukee right-hander Jamie Wright. We'll be back with all the action right after this.
Another beautiful summer night here in Atlanta. A perfect night for baseball Game 2 of the series. The Brewers visiting the Atlanta Braves. Time for a look at Davey Lopes' Neutrogena TGL starting lineup. And here it is. It's Ron Belliard to lead it off. He's a second baseman. Batting in the second spot, a guy who has turned things around in June since the 6th, MARQUIS GRISSOM, hitting near .320. It's Jeff Jenkins, the left fielder, to hit third. The cleanup hitters, the right fielder, JEROMY BURNITZ. Charlie Hayes starts at third, bats fifth. Tyler Houston is at first and will hit 6th. Hitting 7th, it's Jose Hernandez, the shortstop. Batting 8th and catching, Henry Blanco. And right-hander Jamie Wright, 0 for 11 with the bat this year, will bat 9th. Braves defense, a familiar one. It's Sanders, Jones, and Jordan left to right. It's Jones, Weiss, Veras, and Galarraga around the infield. Fernando Lunar behind the plate, and Greg Maddux on the mound. He's 9-1 with a .298, but in his last 28 starts, Greg Maddux has won 18 of those, giving the Braves 7 innings of start, not walking anybody, and a 4-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. The umpires will have... Well, Pete, I'll let you tell him about him since Maddux likes to go in a hurry.
Okay, it'll be John Shulock calling the balls and strikes. The first pitch on the way to Ron Belliard, and it's hit right back off Maddox's leg and all the way into foul territory. That'll be a base hit for Belliard. That's a fair ball, and right off the bat, Jeff Porter and Bobby Cox are going to have to come out and see if Greg Maddux is all right.
That got him solidly, and Maddux has body language that tells you he is not very happy. I don't know where it got him, but it got him good. Belliard looking for something to handle on the first pitch. Got it. It could be on the right knee. If it is, that's damaging. This is a good angle to watch. One hopper. I believe he got some glove on it, but it also maybe it was the left knee. I can attest from experience that's not fun. I gave up a ground rule double one night off of one of those that hit almost the same spot and went into the Astros dugout in the Astrodome for 2 bases. He's going to try to throw, but it caught him just on the outside of his left knee.
Very first pitch of the game.
That's his landing leg.
And it hit him with such force that it ricocheted all the way over to the screen in front of the Milwaukee Brewers dugout on the third base side before it was run down. In fact, Belliard was thinking about double for a moment. He took a big turn around first to see if anybody was going to get to that ball in time.
Right now, Greg Maddux, it's probably in a little bit of a state of shock. That area is. What we want to keep an eye on is when he goes into the dugout and sits down for a while. If that was hit solidly, then it could stiffen up on him.
Well, now MARQUIS GRISSOM, a .250 hitter for the year with 6 home runs. Homered here last night. Belliard at first, nobody out. Belliard only 3 stolen bases this year. He's also been caught 3 times. First pitch to GRISSOM on the way. Lunar throwing down to first, and back safely Belliard. Nothing in 1 on GRISSOM. Good numbers in his career against Greg Maddux.
He's had a lot of at-bats against Greg Maddux to test those numbers too, with walks and everything up over 60.
Nothing in 2 the count.
What do you think? How many numbers you think you have to go before you can really start giving it some credibility?
I think 50.
50?
I think 50 at bats is a number that once you get to that point you can really say you own a guy or he owns you. Or
I think you could see a trend develop between 25 and 30. You can get an idea, but I agree with you. In order to say yep, he's his or he's not his, you need about 50.
Tell you why after this 0-2 pitch. Runner going. Time had been called. Time had been called. Or did they call a balk?
I think he did call a balk.
He did call a balk. A balk was called.
And it's been called on Fernando Lunar for stepping out of the batter's box to catch it. We're going to have ourselves a problem tonight.
Well, we've got a new catcher's box. Bobby Cox going to come out to argue. The catcher cannot line up with part of his body outside of the catcher's box. If he does, a balk can be called. It's called a catcher's balk, but the pitcher is charged with the balk.
Last night, Davey Lopes was arguing about this, and the box is there, and Davey Lopes last night put up a pretty good argument. And John Shulock is a stickler for the letter of the law. And John Shulock is a guy who will ever back down from an argument. And you just kind of got a feeling before this night went along very long that something like this was going to happen. This is a good move by Pat Corrales. Watch this. What he is going to do is come out and tell Fernando Lunar. He's going to tell him how to catch and stay inside of that. That's a great move for Pat Corrales.
Davey Lopes made the complaint last night, and the umpires came out after the game to measure the box, the catcher's box that was being employed by the Atlanta Braves here at Turner Field. And that's the box that was employed last night. Bobby Cox, by the way, has just been thrown out of the game. Now tonight, when the catcher's box was put in, you can see it's narrower. There's no question about it. It is a narrower catcher's box. That's right to the letter of the law. And there it is, overlapped over last night's box. You can see it takes about an inch off on either side. The way the rule reads, the pitcher is charged with the balk, although it is called a catcher's balk. It's charged to the pitcher. And I'm going to find the rule here and read it to you. The pitcher is charged with a balk when he makes a pitch when the catcher is not in the catcher's box, and that's where Lunar was, out of the catcher's box. There's the call by John Shulock, and right off the bat we have it come into play tonight. Right off the bat, Bobby Cox has been tossed out of the game by John Shulock.
It is a rule that is in the book that is very seldom ever enforced. It's a rule that, because I'm personally surprised more managers haven't done this to try to little pressure on. The Braves are a collection of control pitchers. They have good catchers who can move the strike zone with them. And that's something I'm surprised nobody's complained about before. It is the letter of the law, but it is seldom ever enforced to the letter of the law.
In fact, there are some ballparks, Fenway Park comes to mind right away, they don't even have a catcher's box back there when they put in their batter's boxes. No catcher's box at all up in Boston.
Well, nobody moves the ball around more, and nobody locates any more than Greg Maddux. That's why I'm not surprised that they would try to do it on a night when Maddux is there.
The catch made by Andrew Jones, and staying put at second base is Ron Belliard. So score one for Davy Lopes in this series. This first came up a couple of years ago. Tony La Russa with the St. Louis Cardinals challenged the Braves on the width of the catcher's box. They said it was a little bit too wide, giving Braves pitchers perhaps an advantage because the catchers could line up a little more to one side or the other of the plate. Bruce Bochy brought it up in postseason ball when the Padres were playing against Atlanta. And it really hasn't been brought up at all this year until Davy Lopes mentioned it last night.
And they had the right umpire back there, too. Some umpires would kind of say, you know, tisk, tisk, don't worry about it. But John Shulock is a stickler for the letter of the law. And he is also a guy that he won't go looking for fights, but if there's a crack in the door, he'll stick his foot in there and go on through with an argument.
Jeff Jenkins, 312 on the year with 13 homers, 39 runs driven in. He did not go 2-0.
This is going to require some serious concentration and work for a young catcher, because Fernando Lunar now all of a sudden doesn't have to just catch a Greg Maddux game and call it. Every time he calls a sign and slides to where he's going to be, he's got to look down and make sure he's in there. So it's a double load for a young catcher.
He's right on the line there. And the pitch is low and the count 3-0. The whole purpose of a manager, an opposing manager, you'll see Lunar here look down to make sure where he is so that he doesn't step outside that line. The whole purpose of a guy like Davy Lopes bringing it up in a game like last night is just to do what he did tonight, to try to throw the team and especially a pitcher like a Greg Maddux completely off rhythm and maybe upset a young catcher a little bit and get him thinking about other things.
Sometimes that's your only shot at beating a pitcher who is of the caliber of a Maddux.
A little bit of gamesmanship. Now you might ask why it was the Braves catcher's box wider than it should have been in the first place. Well, teams do that. Teams do things like that with their home fields.
You don't think teams tailor their mounds?
Teams tailor their mounds. You might see a team water down the area right out in front of home plate, make it as soft as they can, the area around first base.
Davy Lopes has seen that a lot of times over around first when he was one of the most prolific base stealers around.
If you're on the road and you've got a good base stealing team, it's going to be like mud over there around first base.
You could grow a beautiful garden in a lot of places over there. They had it all so watered down.
Every team tries to get whatever little edge they can. Sometimes they get away with it. Tonight they didn't, although the box is regulation size. But John Shulock insisting that Fernando Lunar stay in there. The walk to Jenkins puts runners at first and second with one out. It'll bring up JEROMY BURNITZ.
One of the things that's very important, and you will see umpires usually about the first time through, after the game ends, about the first series, they will have somebody measure the drop and make sure that the pitching rubber is 10 inches above home plate. I played in a ball club that would raise home plate slightly. Now the batter's box would be down, but raise home plate maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches, so you could have a 12-inch mound if you got a 2-inch elevation at home plate. So it's just it's
gamesmanship.
That's what it is. It is trying to function within the framework of the law, although maybe not in the spirit of.
0-1 on JEROMY BURNITZ. Only .218 for the year. He was 0 for 3 last night. He does have 14 homers and 43 RBIs. Runner at second, one out, runner at first as well. There's a liner that Kilvio Veras can't get to. It's into right field. The runners had to hold to see if he had a chance to catch that. So it's a station-to-station advance for the base runners. Belliard over to third. Jenkins down to second on the base hit by BURNITZ.
Third baseman, number 14.
Good pitch by Maddux. Got it in on his hands. And Kilvio Veras looked like for just a split second he had a shot at that. You can see both the runners, both Belliard and Jenkins, had to break back. So they had to play it station to station.
So a couple of things breaking for the Brewers in the top half of the first inning. First, the line drive by Belliard off Maddox's knee, shaking him up a little. And then on the very next hitter, a balk called because Lunar was out of the catcher's box, shaking him up a little. So the Brewers have the Braves battery a little rattled here. Bouncing ball slowly short. Weiss goes to second. No chance for a double play. And to score is Belliard. Charlie Hayes gets the RBI, and the Brewers take a 1-0 lead.
First baseman, number 2, Tyler Houston.
RBI number 29 of the year for Charlie Hayes. Well, it hasn't taken long for a few things to happen in this one, has it?
And there'll be a little name calling out of this. little subtle name calling.
I'll tell you what, Henry Blanco better be sure he stays in that box. They're going to be eagle eyes on him when the Brewers get out there. Here's Tyler Houston, 253, 4 homers. That is a foul ball, 0-1.
Belliard kind of giving you an indication he might have thought, might have detected also something the way Maddux is changing the ball in his glove.
First and third with 2 outs, 1 run in.
Brewer Ball Club used to be the best ever at stealing signs and picking up things.
That's down and in. The count even. 1 ball, 1 strike.
When you had Ted Simmons and Paul Molitor and Robin Yount and Jim Gatner and that collection of people, they were the best in the business. There have even been times when one of them would be at second, a ball would bounce away from the catcher, and they'd stay there so they could relay the pitch to the hitter next time. Gamesmanship.
You saw Pat Corrales in the Braves dugout. He will take over as manager for the rest of the night. 3rd time this year Bobby Cox has been thrown out, once in San Diego, once in Chicago. First time at home. Fouled away again by Houston, 1-2. There was a game protested recently when Jimmy Williams was thrown out of a game for the Boston Red Sox. I forget who they were playing, but whoever it was protested the game, saying that Jimmy Williams was indeed in the Red Sox clubhouse, but he was sending messengers out with strategy.
He was managing via the phone.
Via the phone, calling the dugout. The protest was not upheld.
That might be one you'd have to call some witnesses for that one.
Or subpoena the phone records. We've seen that done before.
Yeah.
1-2 the count.
DNA.
First and third, 2 outs. Fouled back. Still 1-2. Braves are 5-2 against Milwaukee this year. The Brewers have been struggling all year. They're 13 games under 500, 12.5 behind the Cardinals. The only team they lead in the Central Division is the Houston Astros ball club, which has been the most disappointing performing team in all of Major League Baseball this year. Got beat, or are getting beat again today. Veras handles this one on to Galarraga to end the controversial top half of the first inning. 1-0 Brewers.
We've already packed an hour's worth of entertainment into a half inning, and we're just underway. Time for the Braves to come to bat. Here's a look at Pat Corrales' batting order. Kelvio Veras to lead it off, and Andrew Jones batting second, one shy of one of many milestones he'll get in his career. Chipper Jones, Andres Galarraga, Brian Jordan, the heart of the lineup. Reggie Sanders, Walt Weiss, Fernando Lunar, and Greg Maddux will complete it. Jenkins, Grissom, and BURNITZ make up the outfield. Hayes and Houston at the corners. Hernandez and Belliard up the middle. Blanco behind the plate. And Jamie Wright, hard-throwing sinker baller who pitches well away from Denver, on the mound.
And Kelvio Veras leading it off, taking a strike. He's hitting .316, 4 homers, 30 RBIs, 0 for 3 in the opening game of the series last night. 1 ball, 1 strike the count, and Kelvio Veras. Let's change the scoring on that balk and charge it to the catcher. There is an exception in the rule book that enables you to charge a balk to a catcher. So charge it to Lunar. Very, very rare that that comes up. It would have been charged to the pitcher if an intentional walk was being issued and the pitcher delivered the ball with the catcher standing outside the box. That's why the catcher stands in the box, holds his hand out, and then moves. Then it would have been charged to the pitcher, but it is a catcher's balk. There is a rule, 4.03A in the rule book. Catcher must stand with both feet within the lines of the catcher's box until the ball leaves the pitcher's hand. Well, there's a way around it. Ball leaves the pitcher's hand. You can move out a little. Catcher will be charged with a balk. 3-2 is the count on Kelvio Veras.
Wright struggled with control problems early in the year, but they tell me the last 3 or 4 outings he's thrown a lot of strikes, and he has pitched really well for the Brewers. Good record lifetime against the Braves.
That's it for Kelvio Veras. He's caught looking. Yeah, Wright has 28 career wins, 34 career losses. 5 of those wins are against Atlanta.
Despite a high earned run average.
Only 1 loss, 5-1 lifetime.
Dean Taylor probably saw something in him away from Coors Field, because when he was with the Colorado Rockies, you know, he would get lit up pretty good. There, Dean and Susan Taylor, 2 of the nicest people you will meet in this game. In Coors Field, he would give up a lot of runs, but away from Coors Field, he almost cut his earned run average in half, and I'm sure that's something that they...
Deep to left field by Andrew Jones. We're going to be all tied up. 20th home run of the year, 100th home run of his career. At age 23, Andrew Jones has hit 100. It's 1-1.
Now somebody from the PR department get out there and start negotiating right now, looking for something to handle on the first pitch. Fastball tailback, and he knew it.
20th homer of the year, 46th RBI of the year, career home run number 100. And that puts Andrew Jones in some very, very select company. Here's Chipper Jones taking the first pitch down and away. 1 ball, no strikes.
Only the 3rd home run allowed by Jamie Wright.
Next pitch is low and outside, 2-0 the count. That's going to squeeze him right in between A-Rod and Johnny Bench for the youngest player to reach 100 home runs. 5th youngest of all time. Mel Ott, Tony Conigliaro, Eddie Matthews, A-Rod, and Andrew. Liner to right by Chipper Jones, base hit. To those of you who are on the production side of this telecast, be you down in the truck or running camera or running tape machines, or Phil Simmons, our statistician up here, we're sorry we didn't mean to use all of your graphics and all of the things that you prepared before the game in the very first inning, but we've had no choice. Everything happening right off the bat here. Andres Galarraga will be the batter. You know, you put all these things together, and if they come up during the game, you use them. Sometimes they come up, sometimes they don't. You save them for the next day. We've had,
on an average, you probably use 1/3 of them.
Yeah, we've had 4 or 5 things that we've used here already. You know what I was thinking when we showed that shot of Dean Taylor sitting back behind home plate watching the game with his wife Susan? Dean was very much aware of this catcher's box controversy when he was here as the assistant general manager. Davey Lopes was aware of it, having been a coach for Bruce Bochy. I wonder how many times that was discussed on the plane ride to Atlanta, saying, hey, you know, we got to remember that it might come up, and indeed it did. Galarraga, 313, 18 homers, 55 RBIs.
Well, Davey Lopes has been waiting for an opportunity to manage, and he's getting it. And he is a guy that, as a player, didn't miss anything. He was a second baseman, but you got a feeling then that he was, in baseball wisdom, wise beyond his years and his experience.
I wonder who in the Braves dugout is responsible for keeping an eye on Henry Blanco, because you know the first time Blanco sets up outside that catcher's box or even comes close, there's going to be a complaint.
I would bet you it's Pat Corrales.
2-1 the count on Galarraga.
Pat doesn't miss too much either.
1-1 game, runner at first, 1 man out.
This may be one of the few nights when the Braves hierarchy is happy we're using the high home. Every now and then a few folks rather we didn't use that shot.
It's now 3-1. No ill effects seemingly yet from being hit on the knee with that line drive. For Greg Maddux, he appears comfortable and relaxed in the Braves dugout. Here's the 3-1 to Galarraga, and it's a full count now, 3-2.
I think the intent, Pete, in working with that catcher's box would be to influence Fernando Lunar. I don't believe that you were going to influence Greg Maddux's approach. He's a veteran. He's a cagey veteran. He's a guy that he knows how to play the odds and to work the angles. But I think to get the Lunar back there moving around a little bit, you might disrupt the timing, and going on a count and having continuity is very important to Greg Maddux. So I don't think it was, to better phrase it, I don't think it was a direct shot at him. I think it was an indirect approach to trying to disrupt his timing.
Still 3-2 on Galarraga. Runner on the move, swung on, miss, strike 3, throw to second. Another one-hop strike to second base for Blanco, who has thrown out 58% of attempted base stealers this year. Second one he's gunned down in this series. 1-1 after 1. Tied as we go to the second. Jose Hernandez leads it off and takes inside. He's hitting .224 with 9 homers, 36 runs driven in. 1 for 3 last night. On the ground right at the shortstop, Walt Weiss. He throws out Hernandez, 1 away. And that'll bring up Henry Blanco, the catcher, a .234 hitter with 4 homers.
The pitcher, number 12, Henry Blanco.
Well, it hasn't disrupted Greg Maddux's way of doing things. We're so used to seeing the heart of the infield, the busiest people on the diamond, and already 3 of the 4 outs recorded on ground balls to second or short.
Strike in the inside corner. 0-1 to Blanco. It's even now. 1 ball, 1 strike. Maddux off the mound. See if he can throw him out. Big stretch by Galarraga. Great pickup by Galarraga. Maddux unable to get much on that throw. A little bit off to the second base side of first. Galarraga went out and got it. 2 men gone.
Maddux is fortunate that his delivery puts him in a good fielding position, so he's able to get the jump over. Didn't really have time to plant and get a lot on it. Look how quickly he gets to where the ball is. It throws off balance. Galarraga waited to stretch till he saw where the ball was going to be. That's the difference in the play.
Now Jamie Wright 0 for 11 on the year. First pitch swinging, little tap out to Veras. Be an easy inning for Greg Maddux. 1-2-3 go the Brewers in the second. 1-1 as we head to the bottom half of inning 2.
It's baseball here, but at Wimbledon it's tennis, so we invite you to make sure to tune into our sister network TNT Monday at noon Eastern and Pacific for Wimbledon. Will Andre Agassi's back permit him to win his 2nd consecutive Gentlemen's Singles Championship, or will Pete Sampras win his 7th Wimbledon championship? All this and more will be answered on TNT's coverage of Wimbledon from the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club. That's on Monday on TNT.
1-1 as we go to the bottom half of the second inning. Brian Jordan, Reggie Sanders, Walt Weiss due up before we start the bottom of the second. Pass along some sad news we received about a member of the Braves family back in the late 60s. Bob Tillman, a Braves catcher in 1968, 69 and 70, passed away yesterday in Gallatin, Tennessee at the age of 63, and our condolences to Bob Tillman's family and friends. Here's Brian Jordan, 295. With 12 homers on the year. In the left center field, well hit, and it's going to drop for a base hit. MARQUIS GRISSOM gets it back to the infield. Hit number 3 off of Jamie Wright. Braves getting some good cuts at right.
And they're getting some good pitches to handle on the first pitch. Starts him with the breaking ball, but just like the fastball that Andrew Jones hit, it was about belt high down the middle.
Now Reggie Sanders 1 for 3 last night, 183 now for the year with 3 homers. Very gradually starting to get that batting average headed in the right direction.
He has the Mendoza line in sight now. For a while it was just around the corner, but now it's close by.
Hitting .226 for the month of June, so that's a little bit better than the numbers we've been giving you for Reggie. Fouled away 0-1.
And when you get off to a start like this, Pete, don't you think what you have to do is just forget that number that's up on the scoreboard and try to do it a week at a time, a month at a time, and say, if from here on in I can hit 275 or 280, I will have salvaged a year. And I think that's what he has to do, because down the stretch, Braves are going to need to be able to count on Reggie Sanders for some offense.
This is his 170th at bat. He's a 273 lifetime major league hitter. Now, if you go about your business this time of year after 170 at bats saying, man, I'm really going to have to go some to hit 273, you'll never get there. You can't think like that. And that's almost an impossible goal to reach this year. You hit 273 the rest of the way, you may wind up with a batting average around 230, 240 for the year. But you're doing what you have done throughout your major league career when it counts, second half, down the stretch.
Well, historically, July and August, two of his best months.
0-2 the count. Good stop by Blanco, but a break by Brian Jordan, and he's going to get there. That's very alert base running by Brian Jordan. That ball had barely gotten away from Blanco, and Jordan broke.
He didn't hesitate, but Blanco did. That's why he's standing at second. Didn't wait to see how far it was going to go. When he saw it skip away from him, Blanco hesitated. Jordan bounces off, kept his momentum going, and when he saw it skip more than a few feet away, made it easily.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Reggie Sanders, with Jordan at second on what is ruled a wild pitch from Jamie Wright. Down on strikes goes Reggie. 3rd strikeout for Wright. All of the outs he's recorded have been strikeouts. The stolen base caught stealing.
This is what makes him so nasty. It's a heavy, hard sinker that sometimes goes up 93, 94 miles an hour. Late movement. That's just like a left-hander's biting slider right in on the hands of a right-hander. When he's on, he should get strikeouts and groundouts and not flyouts.
He's faced 6 hitters. He's gotten 3 of them out on strikeouts, the double play occurring on one of them. The other 3 have gotten hits, a home run and 2 singles. Walt Weiss down in the count 0-1. Walt batting .299, 0 for 1 last night.
All Jamie Wright has to do is stay healthy and be surrounded with people who can catch the ball, and he's got a chance to be a good one.
1 ball, 1 strike. He's got so much movement. He's one of those pitchers that if you got a catcher that's never caught him before, to tell him just set up in the middle.
Yep. Because you're doing him an injustice
Follow
on the
ball.
corner, because if you set up outside corner and you get the movement that's normal, it's either going to be down the middle or 8 inches outside.
1-2. Wright went on the disabled list right at the end of spring training with a slight rotator cuff tear in his right shoulder. It was a subsurface tear, not considered to be as serious as the other, and didn't make his first start of the season until May 6th in a minor league rehab assignment. His first start with the Brewers came May 23rd against Atlanta in Milwaukee.
3 excellent pitches, an overpowering sinking fastball. He has a curveball that he can dominate with, and his changeup probably is his 3rd best pitch, but it's one that he can rely on in any count. That's why they felt he was ready to go again.
2-2 to Walt Weiss. Game tied at 1. Runner at second, 1 out. Still 2-2.
He's really only gotten 3 pitches belt high or above, and it's been a home run and 2 singles.
This is the continuation of the longest road trip of the year for Milwaukee. They opened up with 4 games in Florida. They split that series. This 3-game weekend in Atlanta. Then they travel to Philadelphia for 3 more. 10 games in 11 days. They have an off day in Philly on Monday. Still 2-2.
Travel not that bad for Milwaukee, Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis. those ball clubs that are in the heart of the country, because you very seldom have real long trips.
Yeah, very seldom do you have a coast to coast Eastern time zone to Pacific time zone trip. Three and two. In fact, the Cardinals for years, when Whitey Herzog was the manager, outside of trips to the West Coast, if the team had an off day at home, they'd take the whole day off. They would not travel up the night of the off day to the upcoming city like the Braves often have to. They will on Monday, for example. Braves are off on Monday, but they will fly up to Montreal Monday night. In the air, left center field. Grissom had him shaded that way. Makes the catch. And back to second, Brian Jordan. But Whitey Herzog was a guy that felt if he had an off day, especially an off day at home,
Spend it
at home. And most of the flights the Cardinals took, except for those West Coast trips, you were going no more than one time zone away, usually no more than an hour-and-a-half flight. So they'd leave the morning of the game. Almost all of their trips. Now Fernando Lunar has been hitting the ball of late. Up to 257 for the year. He has 5 hits in his last 11 trips. Driven in 5 runs. Has done the expected defensive job behind the plate. Everyone knew he could handle that. And he's hit by the first pitch thrown by Jamie Wright.
There's that late movement that you were talking about. He's trying to go down and in. Blanco slides there, but that one just kept climbing right in against the left thigh of Lunar.
Have you noticed how the more the Braves have seen of Fernando Lunar, the more the talk has disappeared about searching around for an available veteran backup catcher? You don't hear that at all anymore.
I don't think you're going to find a number 2 guy out there any better at handling pitching, catching, receiving the ball than you are.
And that's so important to this club.
That's right, because you're going to get offense from 7 other places.
Well, if he hits 250, that's as much offense. That's as much offense as you want.
And sometimes on this ball club, you're going to get offense from the 9th spot. So you could almost say if I can get good offense from the 8th and 9th combined, and that's what you're doing with him out there. But he can catch.
Here's Maddux now, 167, 6 out of 36 in the year. First and second, 2 outs. Breaking ball, strike.
He can catch it. He's a quick study, too. You don't have to tell him anything twice. He picks it up right away.
One and one. Final game in this series tomorrow afternoon. It'll be Kevin Millwood against Alan Levrault. Levrault, a rookie right-hander, has made a couple of relief appearances. He will be starting his first major league game tomorrow. Two and one.
I think sometimes, Pete, I think catchers don't spend enough time with pitchers. I believe it may be difficult sometimes being a catcher because you have to be one of the 8 other guys, but you also have to be a part of the pitching staff. And when you watch Fernando Lunar on the bench, you'll see him sometimes sitting by the pitchers. A lot of times Greg Maddux will be with him. So as much as you'd like to hang out with the outfielders and the infielders, I really think a catcher, a good one, should consider himself a part of the pitching staff.
Down and strikes Maddux. That's 4 strikeouts already for Jamie Wright. The Braves strand 2, and we head to the 3rd, still tied. If your modem's working.
Yeah.
Ron Belliard leads off the 3rd.
Your modem's got a hang up today, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Belliard, Grissom, and Jenkins. Belliard a base hit off Maddox's knee. Leading off the game. Weiss runs this one down, throws on to first. 1 away.
I could just see you when you first started broadcasting the Braves saying, you know, one day I'm going to come to work and I'm going to have a problem because my modem's hung up. I could just see that.
Hey, remember,
I could see you and Skip having that conversation.
about the time you were starting your major league career. I was starting my minor league career, 1967. We didn't even have calculators then. We had a little book called the Book of Batting Averages and Earned Run Averages, and these little charts in there. The handheld calculator was a humongous advance for the media covering sports. Now look at us. Marquis Grissom flied to center his first time up. 1-1. One out here in the top of the third. Doesn't look like Greg is showing any ill effects from that shot off his knee in the first. Chipper Jones handles that one. Over to first to get Marquis. 2 down.
And that's 2, 4, 6, 7 ground ball outs in a row. All but one handled by second short or the pitcher.
And the batter will be Jeff Jenkins, who walked in the first inning.
I know how you enjoy the computer and what it can do. Joe has jumped onto it, and I really think that our other partner is a closet computer bug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think every now and then, I think he does. He just doesn't want us to know that he would do it.
Line to left. Reggie Sanders there. 1, 2, 3. Brewers go in order in the top of the third. Still 1-1.
Bottom of the third, 1-1. Looks like we have one of our old teammates here at TBS visiting with us tonight.
The killer.
Ken Nolan. He had the second. That's right. John Charles Jack. Is that right? Number 2 for Ken and his wife. Ken Nolan, the star of Cuba, star of Havana, Cuba during the Pan Am Games.
Gilby O'Veras, a strikeout his first time up. 1-1 game. 2-0.
He was like the Pied Piper down there, Pete, because
I can just picture.
He had one of the boom boxes with the music, and there would be 100 or 150 kids following Ken Nolan around the beach area there. Malecon, I think is what they call
a great beach.
The area, and the Killer had an entourage. He could have run for second in line. He wasn't going to get first, but he could have run second in command.
2-1 the count at Gilby O'Veras. That's out of play. It's 2-2. You know, they've got a big reunion coming up. I think it's next weekend. While the Braves are in New York, and unfortunately Skip and I are going to be unable to attend, where they are bringing back all of the folks, as many of them as they could, that used to work here when it was called WTCG, and it was a
Channel
local
17.
It was a local Atlanta UHF television station. They've spent about 1.5 years tracking everybody down. And there are going to be some stories to tell at that little party.
You guys were a big help to me, because sometimes after pitching you have trouble going to sleep, and remember, you always replayed the game at midnight.
We replayed the games at like 1 o'clock in the morning. You're right.
So after a good outing, go back to the hotel room. There is a local chicken franchise that used to make it really nice and crispy, and go back and grab that and go back to the room and watch you guys again.
See, by replaying those games at 1 o'clock in the morning, it made it possible for us to become the first franchise in history to lose 200 games in a year. We'd lose at 7:30. We'd lose again at 1. 3-2 to Veras. Look out.
You and Skip had an interesting story about that, didn't you? Flying back one night.
Yeah, they were replaying a game. We flew back. I forget from where we were. Might have been Montreal. We had a Sunday afternoon game. We flew back. Got back. Well, I guess about 12 o'clock or so that night. Liner into left field, base hit for Gilby O'Veras. That's hit number 4 off of Jamie Wright, and it'll bring up Andrew Jones, who hit his 100th career home run in the first inning on the first pitch he saw from Jamie Wright. Anyhow, we stopped at a little place to have a
midnight
Coca-Cola, yeah, at one of our local watering holes, and there was a fella there who'd spent a good part of his day there.
in something other than Coca-Cola.
Something other than Coca-Cola. The game came on, the replay of the game. We were sitting right across from him.
Still had your same sport coats.
Still had the same sport coats on. He looked up at the television screen, looked down at the two people sitting beneath the television screen, noticed the similarity, and swore off the hard stuff forever. 5-4 gets Kilvio Veras down at second. You know, and everybody starts to look like what you're seeing on television. It's time to
it's time.
time to switch to chocolate milk. Here's Chipper Jones now. He singled his first time up, one out runner at first. Now I know Skip and I both would have liked to have been there, but it was just impossible to come up with a day when everybody that was invited to the function would be able to attend, so they picked a day when the most people could get there. We'll be in New York. We'll have some stories to tell too, I have a feeling.
Yes, we will, and some of them will relate to baseball.
Runner at first, one out.
Hopefully.
Just off the corner, 1 ball, no strikes.
Right hides his changeup well, actually gives you a little more deception, especially from the stretch. Kind of just flops. Both arms go out at the same time. The left comes up, the glove comes up, the right comes back, and then he almost jumps at you before he takes a little off the changeup.
High in the air to left center field. MARQUIS GRISSOM. The ball had a little carry to it. GRISSOM almost all the way back to the warning track to pull that one in. Andrew back to first, 2 gone, and the batter will be Andres Galarraga. Struck out in the first inning.
There's a lot you have to remember, isn't there, just being an outfielder, because that's a fly ball that's carrying a little bit further than you might have thought. You've got to go to left center to make the catch, and as soon as you make the catch, you can't pat yourself on the back for getting an out. You got to remember who's at first. And if it's a guy at first who is likely to make it down to second, you got to do something about that. And Andrew Jones had tagged up. That's why MARQUIS GRISSOM has been considered one of the premier center fielders in all of baseball for the last 10 or 12 years.
He would have been considered Atlanta's best were it not for the arrival of Andrew. Up until Andrew Jones came along, nobody could remember anybody that played here in Atlanta that played center field any better than MARQUIS GRISSOM. One ball, no strikes, and Galarraga. One run, 2 hits for the Brewers. 1 run, 4 hits for the Braves. 2-0. Funny how different teams pitch differently to Galarraga, isn't it? Milwaukee's been staying inside on him a lot. Some teams.
Philadelphia stays away and above
up and
the
away.
belt.
Yep, up and away all the time.
I think you have a greater margin for error if you go out there away from him.
3-0.
Because if you miss, if you break the strike zone into quadrants, up and away, up and in, down and away, down and in, where it is most hazardous to your health, to Andres Galarraga, is that low middle in quadrant. Green light.
Nope.
Take it all the way, and that's the pitch he hammers.
3-1.
Whatever their plan is against him, he has handled it fairly well.
It always interests me, though, to see this, because there's another pitch in on his hands that he fouled away 3-2. Because you've got the same scouts travel around. They sit together. They know they all know each other. They're running into each other every series. And they've all got their little notebooks, and they're all making notations. Now, why would some make a notation to pitch him up and away, and others who see the success those teams have pitching him up and away say, no, we want to go in on him? Tried to go up and away with that pitch and lost him out there. Ball 4.
Probably the same reason you see 2 analysts look at a stock and one say it's Goodwin with a great future, and the other one says, nah, I think it's all in the past. It's just
It's perception.
It is perception, but I think the graphic that Phil had put together that we showed you, I would prefer the raw numbers. If he's wearing me out, I want to do something differently.
First and second with 2 down, and Brian Jordan, the hitter, he singled to center his first time up. Right back to Jamie Wright. And that'll do it for Atlanta in the third. 2 more base runners stranded out there. It's still 1-1 as we head to the fourth.
Top of the fourth inning, time for a look at our Office Depot scoreboard. We'll run through all of them for you and tell you about a few of them. But with Greg Maddux out there, as quickly as he works, it's hard to get them all in. Houston continues to take it on the chin. Cincinnati got 5 in the bottom of the second. Philadelphia with an early lead over Montreal. Cubs in Florida in a pitching duel. Pittsburgh leading the Mets. Colorado to Arizona, the other one over in the American League after the pitch. Detroit got beat by Cleveland. Bartolo Colon won that one. Cleveland coming back in game 2 has already taken a lead. The Yankees outslugged the White Sox. Kansas City over Oakland. Baltimore in a pitching duel with Seattle. They lost it 2-1. Halama won his 7th ball game. Sasaki got his 13th save. 6-4 Toronto over Boston. 3 home runs. Tampa at Texas. Minnesota at Anaheim later. Log on to CNNSI.com to keep up with all these and other scores.
If your modem works. 2-1 on Jeromy BURNITZ.
Used to think that you'd have nice lawns if you mowed them. That was a whole different modem. Connotation.
High and deep to right field. Jeromy BURNITZ is going to have his 15th home run. Deep into the Braves bullpen. Home run number 15, RBI number 44.
And this is one that will go on the list here at Turner Field as one of the longest. That into the back of the bullpen. Looked like he got a Maddux fastball that sunk down and out over the plate. BURNITZ is a guy who likes it down, and if he gets full extension, he'll remind you a lot of the swings of Ryan Klesko. Think of Klesko when you see this swing. Same finish, same result. That is a long one.
2-1 Brewers. Here's Charlie Hayes. He drove in their first run when he hit into a 6-4 force play in the first inning. 15 home runs, 44 RBIs now for BURNITZ. His first hit in this series.
He's one of those guys, I think, if you want him in your lineup, and I think they do, and they'd like for him to be a part of the foundation here, you're going to have to live with a low batting average and a lot of strikeouts. But Milwaukee won a lot of ball games with a guy in center field named Gorman Thomas doing exactly that, hitting a bunch of home runs and striking out, but driving in 90 to 100.
Two and one now on Charlie Hayes.
The banner years of the Brewers. Gorman Thomas is right in the heart of that lineup.
In the air to left, but Sanders has a play on this one. Hayes retired. The only thing down really for Jeromy BURNITZ this year is his batting average. He's always been a last 3 years 281, 263, 270. This year around 220. So that's been a disappointment for the Brewers. But the power looks like he's going to be around 30 home runs again this year.
And he's going to strike out 100 times, but he's also probably going to walk close to 100. He struck out 50, and I think his walk total right now leads the Brewers.
Tyler Houston grounded out to second his first time. A couple of guys from the same high school facing each other here. They both went to Valley High School in Las Vegas. Greg Maddux a few years earlier than did Tyler Houston. Andres Galarraga with Maddux covering. 2 gone.
On the Braves ball club, you have 2 of the best in the business at making this play. Wally Joyner and Andres Galarraga. This is not as easy as it looked. Galarraga has to go to his right glove and then throw almost back over the pitcher's left shoulder. 2 things he did well. Show him the ball get it to him in a hurry, and Maddux can find the bag easy. That is a sweet play.
Now Jose Hernandez, who grounded out to short. Taking ball one. It's even, 1-1. A ball and 2 strikes on Hernandez. And home run by BURNITZ, by the way, his second career homer off Maddux in 24 at-bats. 1-2 on the way. Roller out towards second again. Well, a home run by JEROMY BURNITZ puts the Brewers on top 2-1 as we head to the bottom half of the fourth.
Bottom of the fourth, it's 2-1 Brewers. Time for our Aflac trivia question. Our question tonight: who became the 8th pitcher in Major League history to strike out 3,000 batters on this date? Think about it, and we'll have the answer for you shortly.
Reggie Sanders will lead things off here in the fourth. Walt Weiss, then Fernando Lunar. Sanders' a strikeout his first time up. Braves down by a run, 2-1. We were talking earlier, Don, about how many career at-bats a hitter should have against a pitcher before it really becomes significant. And one of the things that can really be a little bit misleading when a guy's had 15 or 12 at-bats against a guy is when he had those at-bats. And one of the reasons I use the number 50, although there aren't going to be many players that have 50 at-bats against a pitcher in their career, you've got to stay in the same league, you've got to face them enough times and be around long enough at the same time that they're around to get all those at-bats. But one of the reasons that it's hard to make any kind of a judgment after 10, 12, 15 at-bats is you may have faced a guy 2 years earlier when he was in the league with you. Then you may have gone to the other league and not faced him for a couple of years and come back and maybe a totally different hitter, totally different pitcher. But after you've had 40 or 50 at-bats against a guy, that's the kind of the stems from the course of a career, from the start of a career to towards the end of a career. It's pretty much the full spectrum. You've seen a guy when he was starting out, you've seen a guy in the middle of his career, you've seen a guy toward the end of his career.
And I think your point's a good one, that doesn't happen that often, and I think you have to pitch off trends.
Yeah.
But I think you need even more than 8 or 9 or 10. I think you need 15 or 20 to detect trends. If a guy is if you're doing well against a guy and he's not making any adjustments, then you can see the trend continue and keep doing it the same way. But I think you can detect a trend in how he's going to approach you as a hitter about a halfway or a third of the way the number you're talking.
Managers look at it differently. Most managers won't even look at that career number. They'll look at what they've done the last 2 years or the last 2 games that they've faced that particular pitcher. An example for Atlanta, Tom Glavine with Mike Redmond, the catcher for the Florida Marlins. I mean, he's only had about 12 career at-bats against Tom, but he's got about 9 hits against him. So anytime they face each other right now, it's a Mike Redmond advantage, or at least it has been. Sanders thrown out, 1 gone. Used to be when there were only 8 teams in each league and players stuck around the same team for most of their career, you'd have hitters with over 100 at-bats, 150 at-bats against the same pitcher. And proof of that, I was looking at a story about Warren Spahn the other day, one of the winningest pitchers of all time. You know how many times he beat the Cincinnati Reds in his career? How many times did you beat Atlanta? Now, you're a 300-game winner.
37, I think.
And you pitched in a era when there were 12 teams
right
in the league primarily.
We saw each other 18 times a year.
And you had 37 wins against Atlanta?
I think so.
Warren Spahn in the National League, pitching all those years for the Braves in Boston and Milwaukee. 8 teams. You'd play each team 22 times a year. Beat the Cincinnati Reds 71 times. Now it's very rare to find a pitcher with 20 wins against one team because you're not seeing those teams as often.
Boy, Warren Spahn is a name we don't bring up enough either. Spahn, the all-time winningest left-hander, and more than just a footnote in Braves history. He is a benchmark in Braves history, but for some reason we don't talk about the old left-hander as much as we should. He is one of the all-time greats and an all-time good guy.
71 times. The 0-1 pitch to Lunar is fouled off 0-2. But you know, in those days when we were facing each club 22 times a year, your number one starter, if he was on a 4-day rotation especially, he might face a team 5 or 6 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
One and two, the count on Fernando Lunar.
Maddux stretching the left knee and negotiating his extension with Terry McGurk. Going right to the top, isn't he?
Yeah. 1 ball 2 strikes on Lunar.
Terry saying, you know, in my golfing days, rub a little liniment on it. Go ahead.
Might be reaching that point in the night when it's starting to bother him a little more.
Starting to stiffen up a little.
Yeah. Whoa. That one off the chart. 2-2.
And Fernando Lunar's got to be thinking, is it me? Why me?
Hit by a pitch his first time up.
He only missed by 4.5 or 5 feet. Blanco is setting up. And you know what? I think it was a slider. I think it was a breaking ball.
2-2 now to Lunar. Did he go? Guess not. 3-2. And Lunar works his way aboard with a 2-out walk. Second walk given up by Wright. That'll get Maddux up in the inning. Struck out his first time.
That can frustrate you a little if you're a pitching coach, because you got pitcher up next. You got the wild card spot in the lineup. Guy who doesn't play very often, and lose him to a walk.
0-1 to count him, Greg. One ball, 1 strike. I've got to find that article on the website again. Maddux is closing in on a 13th consecutive year of 200 or more innings pitched. And there's a very interesting article on one of the websites. And I'll find it and let you people know what it is. The article is based on trying to figure out why so many pitchers are getting hurt with the elbows, especially in the shoulders. And there's a lot of theories in baseball about how many innings a young pitcher should pitch. Some say he should be very limited, the number of pitches he throws, and some say no, throwing is what's going to get the job done. And there is a study out there that looks at pitchers before and after age 23 and how many innings they work. We'll talk about it when we get back. Top of the 5th, it is a 2-1 Brewers lead, and Henry Blanco leads it off. Out pitcher to first, his first time up. And Maddux delivers, fouled away. This article on the net on this research project was talking about innings pitched before age 23 and after age 23, and they found 100 pitchers who had pitched at least one season in the major leagues with over 200 innings in it before they were 23 years old, and then how many 200 inning plus seasons they had after age 23. And you're number 1 on that list. You had 18 seasons after age 23 that you pitched 200 or more innings, and nobody else really even close. Bert Blyleven had like 15. But there were a lot of the whole gist of this argument was that maybe there is something to the fact that pitchers shouldn't pitch a whole lot of innings before their age 23, because there were quite a few pitchers who had some pretty good starts in their career. Dwight Gooden, an example, with a lot of innings before age 23 and a lot of success, who kind of dwindled off very rapidly in their late 20s. I know there's a different point of view on that too.
But and also I started throwing a curveball when I was 11. So you can contradict a lot of things, and I think it's individual. But the one thing that, if you look, I think at where a kid's raised might have something to do with it. But the generation that came along, we played catch all the time. We threw all the time. It wasn't start throwing in March and then you're on a pitch count. I was never on a pitch count. If it didn't hurt, keep throwing. I think that's a purpose pitch from Greg Maddux. Just a reminder that I've got my guys too, and maybe you weren't doing it intentionally, but just a little reminder.
Jamie Wright grounded out to second his first time up. Well, Maddux is going on 13 straight years now. He'll have 200 innings, and he's never really been down with any serious problems with his arm or shoulder. Base hit for Jamie Wright, his first of the year. He's 1 for 13 now.
I think part is mechanics. It's a combination of a lot of things, and I think we're making a mistake trying to single out one thing.
Yeah, I don't think there is one thing either. I think it
just like there's no one thing to cause it, there is no one thing to cure it, and counting a kid's pitch and having a standard for everybody is not going to cure it either.
No, I tend to go along with the experts in this field, Dr. James Andrews being one of them, who performs all those surgeries, talking about how the only way to develop elbows and shoulders that are not going to break down under the stress of pitching is to do a lot of throwing, develop those muscles at a young age, and keep developing them as you grow older. He's not encouraging pitchers to start doing things they shouldn't be doing at too young an age.
No.
But he is encouraging just what you said, to throw a lot. And I'll bet you if you talk to Greg Maddux when he was growing up as a kid, I bet he was outside playing catch every day.
He was in a climate where he could do it. And you know what we used to do too? It wasn't throwing off a mound, but we just played catch.
Yeah.
How far back up? How far can I throw and get the ball to you? See how far you could back up and throw strikes. Throw like you would in the outfield, but it was some sort of catch. I guarantee you 250 days a year we played catch.
Throw to first, and the runner's back. Let's give you the Affleck answer. You got that ready in the truck, guys? Before we get a double play here, we need to get the Affleck answer out of the way. There's the question again. And Don, you knew this one.
Yes, I did. I remember it well.
Remember what it was?
Alan Bannister. He was an infielder with the Cleveland Indians. Ted Simmons was the catcher, and Ted worked very hard. We got 1 and 2 on Bannister. We'll take a look at this play first.
Well, they're only going to have a chance to get the 1 at first.
Another good fielding play by Greg Maddux, but Simmons, we went to 1 and 2. And Ted Simmons came out to the mound and he said, we're going to come inside. Bust him inside. Get him back. And he said, then I want you to come inside again, and we're going to go to a 3-2 slider. So sure, you come inside. And a lot of times a hitter, when you come inside, will think that's a setup pitch, and they'll go diving back out. Sure enough, Bannister went diving back out, and we almost dehorned him. And Simmons, with a big grin, you could see behind the mask stuck down to 3, and he chased a slider. It was a bit. I think we had about 45,000 at County Stadium that night.
In fact, you had 46,037. Phil Simmons never leaves out a detail on the Affleck trivia question. Maddux out of the inning. Runners stranded at second. We're halfway home with the Brewers on top, 2-1.
We go to the bottom of the 5th. Joe Simpson, Skip Carey with you now. Jamie Wright, Greg Maddux. Pretty good pitching duel. I can't remember the last catcher's balk I've seen.
Me neither, and it is pretty much what we expected tonight. Jamie Wright, on his first start back from the disabled list, despite walking 7 and hitting a couple of batters, had a nasty sinker working that day, and he pitched a great game in his last outing against Florida, shutting them out for 8 innings. A hard sinker makes it tough to get anything in the air.
Top of the order for Atlanta here in the 5th inning. Wright completes his warm-up tosses, and here we go.
All that happening in the first inning with the catcher's balk was set up last night. Shulock at first base, the umpire, when Davey Lopes was complaining about the setup of Javi Lopez. So tonight the catcher's box is smaller, and Shulock was laying for something to happen. He was watching Lunar's foot from the very first pitch of the game on.
To his credit, he warned Henry Blanco too when he came out that he was going to worry about the same things for him. 0-1 the count.
Well, hopefully he warned Fernando Lunar before it happened. I would hate to think that he waited till after it happened to make an issue of it.
The pitch for a strike. It's 1-1. I guess the first pitch was a ball. 2-1 Milwaukee, our score. Way high. 2-1.
Nothing cheap about that Jeremy Burnitz homer, the longest in Turner Field history.
By 5 feet. 454. The previous longest, Ryan Klesko's 449. Three and one. Each team has 4 hits. Good play by Wright. His height helped him there.
Yeah,
one away.
Tough to get one over him. Third time he's done that. He's 6'5", 221, and on the slope of the mound with that reach gives him about a 9 or 10 foot advantage there.
Here's Andrew. He hit a long home run in the first inning to tie the game. That has been the Atlanta attack. One ball, no strikes. Mets are losing tonight 4-3 to Pittsburgh in the 4th.
Andrew's home run landed up in the walkway. He knew it was out. Actually got over the walkway, didn't it? Up in those terrace seats.
Hit hard. Good play, Charlie Hayes. He has discovered the fountain of youth. 2 out.
Second time he's done that tonight to Andrew. Andrew hit a bolt at him last time up that Charlie wasn't even sure he had it in his glove, and this is a nice backhand play, smothering the hop. Nicely done.
You know, in that argument earlier, the rule book says that catcher's box is supposed to be 43 inches wide. So make the catcher's box 43 inches wide and there won't be any problem. That hit Chipper. And I think the Braves have had about enough of this guy. He has hit 4 Braves this year.
That might have hit Chipper on his right foot too, where he's still not 100% healed from previous injuries. Left foot. Breaking ball, biting down and in, and never really started in and kept going in.
Well, you can't fault a guy for that one. When he throws your curveball, it's obvious that he's not trying to hit him. But you can say to him, throw the ball over the bleeping plate.
He's been conveniently wild. I mean, each time they've seen him, he's been a guy that's been kind of all over the place. He walked 7 in his start. First start back from the disabled list, and hit 2. Picked up the win. He's hit 2 tonight. Walked a couple and had a wild pitch.
Maddux buzz bombed him his last time up there. If he hits again, he might be a little closer.
That got Chipper pretty solid, either on the instep or on his left heel.
Here's Galarraga. Runner at first, 2 out. Almost hit him.
He's pitched him in there just like that all night. Got a strikeout in the first, but then walked him in the third inning on 4 pitches. Maybe 5, I guess. Andres was taking 2-0 and 3-0.
That'll end the inning. Forced play at second. Inning over. So no hits, no runs, another advancement, 1 man left. At the end of 5, 2-1 Milwaukee.
We've played 5 innings, and here's a look at tonight's Budweiser game summary. Not too many runs on the board. 1 each for both sides in the first inning. Andrew Jones came, or the Braves run came on Andrew Jones' 100th career homer. Jeremy Burnitz then hit the longest home run in Turner Field history in the 4th inning to put the Brewers on top, 2-1. As you can see, Maddux, good sinker working himself with 11 ground ball outs tonight.
Here's Jeff Jenkins, and he hits a ground ball to first. Good play by Galarraga on a short hop, steps on the bag, 1 out. 1 pitch, 1 out. In the 6th.
That'll bring Burnitz to the plate. Here's that home run we were talking about. He got it all, and it short hopped the back wall of the bullpen.
That was a blast. Looking at the computer today, looking at the Milwaukee papers, they're about to sign this guy to an $8 million a year contract extension despite his bad year. High pop down the third base line. Chipper gives it a race but can't get there. 0-1 the count.
Chipper may be hurting, but he has been invigorated. He went into second base like a ton of bricks on that last ground out that Galarraga hit into, and he was really going after this pop-up too.
He is not a happy camper at the
No,
moment.
no.
The 0-1. A ball and a strike.
Now, Burnitz's first half has not been Jeremy Burnitz like compared to the last 2 years. Over 100 RBIs, 30 homers or more.
Check swing, grounder to third. Hop, skip, and throw. 2 down. Charlie Hayes, the batter.
Since the first inning, when Maddux was trying to pitch around that comebacker off his kneecap and the catcher's balk, Jeremy Burnitz's home run, the only real hard hit ball off of him. Jamie Wright had a base hit, but it was a chopper over the mound.
See what happens with Charlie Hayes here. 2 out, nobody on. Right back where it came from, and the inning is quickly and easily over. 1, 2, 3, nothing doing. Bottom of the 6th. Milwaukee still leads it 2-1. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Brian Jordan will lead it off.
Sure don't envy Bobby having to pick the team this year.
0-1 the count.
It's never easy, but it seems like there are a lot of guys stacked at a couple of different positions. It'll be hard to keep anybody off. Eliminate anybody.
Look out, almost got another one. 1-1 the count. Tapped foul past third. 1-2. (2-1) Milwaukee, our score. Almost got him again, and Jordan takes a look out there. 2-2 the count.
He's causing all the right-handers to have to jackknife a little bit. See what he comes back with here. Sinker away. Breaking
Started
ball.
to go, no swing. Full count. And a payoff pitch is due Brian Jordan. There's a start.
He walked 3 in his last start against Florida, but 8 shutout innings. He only gave up 3 hits.
That's his second walk in this game. He's third walk in this game. He's hit 2. Reggie Sanders, the batter, he has struck out and grounded to short. Blanco's got a great arm behind the plate for the Brewers.
That's the problem, even on a hit and run here. There are a lot of swings and misses.
Low and away, 1 ball, no strikes. Blanco takes the mask off. Hollers it right as he returns the baseball to him.
Well, he's got a good reputation as a good receiver. We've already seen him throw. He's got a good arm, but he's really taken charge with some of these younger pitchers too. He's pretty stern with them.
He showed me all I needed to see when he dove into those spikes up in Milwaukee, trying to get an out, and suffered a cut on his hand. High chopper might be 2. No, it wasn't hit hard enough. Oh, and now he's out.
Wow.
He missed the bag and Brian didn't know it. Now Pat Corrales is going to come out and say, what's going on here?
It's Brian Runge, the umpire, and he was calling Brian safe because Belliard had come off the bag too soon, but Jordan didn't know it.
And the question is, why didn't you yell it sooner?
And a lot of times an umpire, I'm not sure what Brian said, but a lot of time an umpire won't say safe. He'll say no, you're off the bag. By that time you're off the bag and tagged out. Oh, and no question Belliard was off the base. But Jordan already heading back to the dugout.
He got a little forearm shiver in there anyway.
He was trying to figure out a way to get back to the bag through Belliard. I'm what? Oh.
Well, Pat was satisfied by whatever Runge had to say. Here's Walt Weiss, shortened to bunt, took a strike, 0-1. Boy, you were right about Shulock. You said he was an excellent ball and strike umpire, and that has proven to be the case tonight.
I think the way he carries himself as an umpire has detracted from his abilities. Sometimes he's been called arrogant. He was suspended last year for a bumping incident.
Runner going. Weiss tried to protect him, could not. That's 2 out, and we've run ourselves right out of this inning.
Slide, Reggie. Hit and run play. He knew he was going to be a dead out because he got a late jump, but walked into that tag. Here's what I was talking about with the hit and runs, though. This guy's got such a good sinker, and he's really so wild, it's kind of tough sometimes to expect him to throw you a strike.
A perfect throw by Blanco.
Yeah, that was a bullet.
So 2 out, and 0-2 the count. 1-2 the count. Weiss did all he could to try to protect Sanders. He chased the pitch well out of the strike zone, but he couldn't reach it. Kerry Leitenberg in the Atlanta bullpen.
Hey, you knew sooner or later Greg's knee would start talking to him after taking that shot off his kneecap on that first pitch of the game.
I think that's John Rocker tying himself into a knot out there. I hope he doesn't do that on the 7 train on his way to Shea Stadium. People will really be confused. Three balls, 2 strikes. And a 2-out walk for Weiss. Here's Lunar, who has probably checked and made sure his insurance premiums are paid. He got hit his first time up, and then a pitch zipped behind him his second time up. That's 4 walks for Jamie Wright. And here comes Bob Apodaca out of the Milwaukee dugout. He's their pitching coach, and he wants to talk it over with Wright and Blanco.
Jamie has more walks than strikeouts in his career, and as soon as he starts getting it balanced more towards the strikeouts, he's going to be one tough customer.
He's tough enough already.
Yeah. Had 8 strikeouts in his last outing against Florida, and that was a career high. 5 strikeouts, 4 walks tonight.
John Shulak sashays to the mound to try to move things along here.
One of the things that scared the Brewers to death was that when they traded away Jeff Cirillo, an all-star third baseman, and as part of the deal got Jamie Wright and Henry Blanco from Colorado. Wright had a shoulder problem in spring training that caused him to go on the disabled list, and they were worried about it, but you can see that he's back pitching healthy again.
He's pitched very well against us twice. Little chopper. That's going to be a tough play. Hayes bare hand pickup. What a play. He's made 3 dazzlers at third base tonight, and the inning is over. No hits, no runs, no errors, 1 left. Base runners all over the place, but nobody scores, and at the end of 6, it's 2-1 Brewers. We go to the 7th inning here. Braves trail 2-1. Greg Maddux pitches on. He's pitched a fine ball game, but Wright has been just a little bit better so far tonight. Tyler Houston leads things off. That's a little low. 1 ball, no strikes.
Didn't expect a whole lot of hits tonight. Right-handers hitting .211 against Maddux, .164 against Wright coming into the game.
2-0 the count. Crowd right at capacity. 2-1. Each team has 4 hits. The catcher's balk was instrumental in the first inning run for Milwaukee. That's pretty well hit, but Reggie Sanders is back there. He puts it away, 1 down. Hernandez the batter. There's an old friend, Dean Taylor, now the general manager of the Brewers.
Duncan Cameron out in Davenport, Iowa, big fan of Dean's. I think he's the proud owner of the only autographed picture of Dean Taylor in existence. Duncan's a big Brewers fan. I know he's watching tonight. We're glad you're watching, Mr. Cameron. Dean got named to that job. First thing Duncan wanted was an autographed picture, and he's got one.
Base hit left field. Well, most of my life I would say it's a good idea to keep a Budweiser distributor happy, whatever he wants. Runner at first, 1 down. The Yankees beat the White Sox today 12-8. That game ended in a monsoon, but they just kept playing. Guys are sliding off the mound, sliding around the bases, sliding in the outfield. Into short center. Andrew cannot get there. Runners at first and second with 1 out.
It's the best thing could possibly happen for Jamie Wright.
Yeah, that's exactly right. About right.
Jamie Wright, yeah. Although with 1 out, we'll see how Maddux plays it. Chipper's probably going in to say something to him about it and about a bunt. About a bunt possibility.
Probably said, don't hit him for me. Get him some other time.
Something John Roseborough used to teach in the Dodger organization.
Yeah, it doesn't have to happen tonight.
It's a long season. Might not even happen this year.
No, it won't if it doesn't happen tonight. Good bunt. 2 down, runners second and third. 1-4 sack. And Ron Belliard, the batter, he has singled, scored a run, grounded short, and hit one back to the mound. Well, he's hit 2 back to the mound. His single was a drive off Greg's left knee.
First base open, a tough clutch hitter on deck. So it looks like they're going to work to Belliard, but let's see how Maddux and Lunar decide to approach it. He's gone after the first pitch 3 times.
Boy, a base hit here would make it really tough for Atlanta. Over the inside corner, 0-1.
Shulock still paying a whole lot of attention to the foot of Fernando Lunar wherever he goes, inside or out.
Wait a minute. Shulock's outside the catcher's box. Ground ball to third, should be out of the inning. And he is. A threat for Milwaukee, but no runs on 2 hits. No errors, 2 left. We go to the bottom half of the 7th inning. Milwaukee 2, Atlanta 1.
Coming Braves game or a Phillips DVD player.
Maddux stays in there and gets himself a base hit to right. Off right. So there's a start in the 7th. Braves have had base runners all over the place. Continue with your 5-minute long promo.
Yeah, for all the details, log on to TBSSuperstation.com or the AOL keyword Braves Super Tour.
We do our best to make sure the game doesn't get in the way of our promos here. Silvio Veras, the batter. Runner at first, nobody out.
And again, Charlie Hayes looking for a bunt way in at third.
He was going to bunt, took it outside. 1 ball, no strikes.
Jamie Wright has beaten the Braves in 4 straight starts against him, and leading again tonight.
And the reason for that is he's a good young pitcher. 2-0. I don't know if there's any activity in their bullpen or not. No, nobody's throwing.
Well, he's a workhorse. He gives them a lot of, will give them a lot of innings, as he did Colorado. He can throw a lot of pitches.
He's at 102 pitches now. Showed bunt, swung away and missed. 2-1.
Charlie Hayes never moved. In fact, he's still playing at about 45 feet.
It's like I dare you, I double dare you. Ted Simmons used to do that when he played for the Braves years ago. He was even closer than Charlie is. And Charlie's pretty close. The 2-1. 3-1. Shorten up and take a pitch, Kilvio.
It's like every time he squares around, Wright has too much of a target to throw to, and he can't find the catcher's mitt.
Swinging, lined it foul. 3-2. Acevedo begins to throw in the bullpen for Milwaukee. Payoff pitch. Here it is. Double play ball. 6-4-3. And another rally is nipped in the bud. 2 out, nobody on.
Another ground ball for Wright. Kilvio swinging away 3-1, fouled one off, so he's going to be swinging with 2 strikes on him. Full count, and it's into the double play, and that hurts.
49,802 here tonight. That may be the biggest crowd of the year. Here's Andrew Jones. Takes a long one now.
I'd like to see him get on for Chipper to see how Chipper comes back up there after getting hit his last time up.
Curveball low, 1 ball, no strikes. In fairness to Wright, it was a breaking ball, but it hurt just as much as if it had been a fastball or if it had been deliberate. Swung and missed. 1-1.
Good off-speed pitch there, like a straight change.
The 1-1 pitch. Chopped foul over the head of Ned Yost. Biggest crowd of the year, 49,802.
Probably noticed tonight off the Braves bats a lot of choppers, a lot of balls being hit right out in front of home plate. Big bouncers to the infielders, and you can chalk it up to Jamie Wright's sinker.
The 1-2 pitch. Got him with a good breaking ball, and another inning is over. The end of 7. Braves trail 2-1.
On the Delta scoreboard, they started at 2 o'clock Eastern time today, and they're still playing. St. Louis and the Dodgers have had several rain delays, one of 3 hours in length, but they go to the 9th, and St. Louis on top 6-1. San Francisco pounded out 22 hits against Houston. 1 home run was hit in the 9th inning off Tim Bogar, an infielder. Cincinnati on top of San Diego. Larkins homered there. Philadelphia leading Montreal. Wilson and Lee have homered for the Florida Marlins, but they're trailing. And Pittsburgh on top of the Mets 6-3. Vanderwall and Young have hit homers there. And we'll take you on over to the American League scoreboard here on the Delta scoreboard.
Marquis Grissom leads off, and Skies 1 to right. Jordan is there, and he's got it in fair territory, 1 out. So Marquis is 0 for 4 on the night. Here's Jenkins, who has walked line to left and grounded to first. Maddux has missed the plate only 6 times in the last 3 innings.
And they're going after him early in the count, too. That worked for them in the first inning.
Braves have grounded into 13 double plays against Milwaukee this year. Jenkins fouls it off. He's 0 for 2 with a walk.
That'll kill a few rallies.
Yeah. Same 2 teams tomorrow. Alan Lavrault will pitch against Kevin Millwood. Lavrault, a pitcher that they are extremely high on. He will be making his first major league start, though he has worked in relief. They want to look at the baseball. John Shulock checks it out, says it's okay.
This guy can hit some pitches inside, can he?
Yes, he can. 1-2 the count.
I'm not even sure this pitch had the plate. It might have been inside. Boy, down and in. He is outstanding.
The 1-2 pitch about to be made, and here it is. Just missed the inside corner. Maddux thought he had a strike.
I did too.
Strike out.
Started it in, cut it back to the inside part. Didn't get that call.
The 2-2. High fly ball, pretty well hit in the center, but Andrew drifts back. 2 out.
That last pitch, basically the very same one that he had thrown just prior to it inside, only this time he throws it away and tails it off to the end of his bat. And that's all Jenkins can do with it. He was looking for something to pull and had to protect the plate, popped it up.
So 2 out here. And Jeromy BURNITZ, the batter, his long home run, the longest ever hit in this park. 454 feet, and that's the difference in the game. 2 out here in the 8th. Two and 0 the count. 88-mile-an-hour fastball that time. It's silly to even give the speed when Maddux is pitching.
It's true.
It's all movement.
Well, in a sense, for Jamie Wright too, he's throwing hard at times, and he's thrown a couple of 92, 93 fastballs, but his best fastball is about 89 or 90, sinking. That's nasty when it's got that kind of movement at 90.
2 balls, 1 strike. It's even now, 2-2.
Something inside looks like.
Popped up out of play, still 2-2.
Didn't get it where he wanted it, but he got away with it.
And that might be a sign that his gas tank is close to empty. Two and 2 the count. Baltimore loses again. They spend more and more money, get less and less results.
BURNITZ called time there, but he wasn't going to immediately walk away. He wanted to make sure that John Shulock saw him before he got out of the box.
2-2 pitch. Struck him out. Inning over. 1-2-3, nothing doing. Bottom of the 8th. Getting late. Braves trail 2-1. Why do they go all the way to Minnesota to hold the draft?
They kind of move it around.
Low to Chipper, 1 ball, no strikes.
Wright has avoided trouble with double plays. Despite the 4 walks, he has the lead.
Two and 0 the count. Braves have left 7 runners aboard. Three and 0.
Had a good game here last night. Jason Bure 6 strong innings. Burkett 6 strong innings. Tonight Jamie Wright throwing a good game for the Brewers. Gives you a feeling they're on the right track with their pitching.
Will he swing? No. 3 and 1.
They thought they had Jeff D'Amico back when he pitched against the Braves in late May, but he's sore again.
The 3-1 pitch. Into the dirt. He walked him. So the tying run is aboard again. And Wright issues his 5th pass. Here's Galarraga, who has struck out, walked, and bounced up.
Well, that's something Davey Lopes has had to weather all year long. The bases on balls. The Brewers have walked more batters than any other team in the National League.
115 pitches for Jamie Wright. Juan Acevedo up again in the bullpen. Fouled it off his foot. 0-1. Good swing from the cat, but he fouled it off.
It's the 5th time tonight the Braves have had their leadoff man on base.
That's frustrating.
They got Brian Jordan to second on a wild pitch. And in the 3rd inning had runners at 1st and 2nd when Jordan hit into a comebacker. No one else has gotten into scoring position.
Right in there with a fastball. 1-1 over the inside corner. Crowd boos, but it was right there.
Yeah, it was a good pitch. Good pitch.
One of those now would be very nice. Fouled another one away, and he's in the hole. A ball and 2 strikes.
They keep firing the ball in on his hands. They move him back sometimes when the ball gets away, and he's certainly been hit enough times this year, but boy, they just continue to pound the ball inside on Galarraga, hoping he can't get his hands and arms extended.
0-2 is the count. Galarraga stands back in there.
Late in the ball game too, bottom of the 8th inning, even Grissom has backed up a step or two. The outfield playing deep.
Good pitch. Breaking ball got him. 7 strikeouts. 5 walks, 2 hit batsmen. A double play.
Look at Blanco saying, give me that ball low, even in the dirt. That's what he got, and he got Galarraga to chase it. But that's where Henry Blanco wanted it.
Brian Jordan is 1 for 2 with a walk. And again, they want to look at the baseball. I think they're trying a little gamesmanship on Jamie Wright. This is game number 74 for Atlanta. Steve Reich, fastball at the knees. Boy, he mixes his pitches up, doesn't he? He's a lot like Maddux.
Well, and a hard throwing Maddux at that. Yeah, he's got about 3 or 4 miles an hour on Greg. Even that pitch down the middle was sinking down.
Little chopper toward 3rd. Hayes bare hands another one. Great play. Boy, he has made some plays at 3rd base tonight. He has found the fountain of youth.
And another chopper pounded into the ground. Brian would have rather this ball have gone foul and get another shot at him. And he just nudged the back of Tyler Houston's foot, almost stepped on him. But a good play by Charlie Hayes. And a good stretch by Tyler. Sanders, then Weiss. They've got first base open. You don't want to put the go-ahead run on board, but a discussion perhaps about how they've retired Reggie tonight. A strikeout, a ground out. He also hit into a force play. But this is a case here where if any bobble by the infielder and Chipper has a chance to score.
Right off the end of the bat, foul. 0-1.
Not getting very good swings at him, are they?
No. Is his dad, is he kin to Mel Wright, the former major league pitcher?
No.
No.
Out of Westmore High School in Oklahoma City, actually Moore, Oklahoma.
Almost got him. 1-1. Is that across the street from Les, Oklahoma?
No, but it's his school, and that neighborhood's right in that area where that devastating tornado blew through
really?
a year ago. Yeah.
Wally Joyner is on deck. 1-1 the count. 2 out. Runner in scoring position. Right back to the mound. That's that. Inning over.
You think it's right on the fat part of your bat, and it moves right in on your hands.
Boy, he is pitching a classic. No hits, no runs, no errors. 1 left at the end of 8. 2-1 Milwaukee. Charlie Hayes has been a big star defensively tonight. Leads off the 9th. Maddux is going all the way. 1 ball, no strikes. Looking ahead to the Atlanta half of the 9th inning. Weiss, Lunar, and the pitcher are scheduled, but I'm betting we'll see Joyner and Bonilla. There's a strike. 1-1.
Hayes got that run home in the first inning too, with the bases loaded and 1 out. He hit into a force play.
John Wengert, Bruce Chen in the Atlanta bullpen. 1-2 the count to Hayes. A lot of the time in that Dragnet movie is discussing the Virgin Connie Swale.
Oh.
High pop, foul back, and out of play.
Got that to look forward to.
Yeah. Is that right after the game? Wish we had time to get home and watch it. Hayes is out of there. 1 away. That's the 3rd strikeout of the night for Greg Maddux. Here's Tyler Houston.
He only walked 1 tonight so far. That was in the first inning when he walked Jenkins. Those catcher's lines, the catcher's box lines that was such an issue in the first inning, all but obliterated, and Lunar a little more room to maneuver back there right now.
Charlie Hayes was called out on a pitch about 8 inches outside. Break for Atlanta. Saw our old friend Jerry Royster there in the Milwaukee dugout. He's their bench coach. See if Chipper can make the play near the stands. He staggers and loses it. That'll probably be no play.
He misread where it was on the field. He thought it was going to be a play where he needed to find the wall first, and then generally speaking that's what you have to do. Find the wall, then adjust. But the ball was on him and behind him, and then couldn't backpedal quick enough. He was trying to get to the wall quickly.
The 1-1 pitch. Strike 2. That play by Chipper, an amazing similarity to the way Bob Harney used to play in Candlestick Park, only Chipper was a lot closer to the ball when it landed. The 1-2 pitch just missed. 2-2.
Ooh, I thought he was going to ring him up.
Houston is 0 for 3. He's bounced to second, bounced to first, flied to left. He could have.
Not too far from the same pitch he rang Hayes up on.
Missed inside. 3-2, and the crowd doesn't like it.
I don't know that Greg will go in there again, though. Remember the pitch he threw to Jeff Jenkins? It went off the end of his bat. Yeah, they're going back outside.
And he got him. Now he's struck out 3 in a row. Till that time he only had 1 strikeout in this game.
One of the best moving fastballs he's thrown all night. Good sinker, similar to the sinker he struck out BURNITZ on in the 8th inning. It just died at the plate. 2
out in the 9th, and Maddux has thrown 91 pitches.
Speaking of classic.
Jose Hernandez, the batter. He too asks for time. Now he stands in. Their save specialist Bob Wickman is in the bullpen. Nothing against him, but I hope they bring him in. He can't pitch any better than Jamie Wright has. Foul tipped at home plate. It's 1-1. Wickman, a native of Wisconsin.
Maddux has gone 9 innings, and this after taking a one-hop shot off his kneecap to start the game.
1-2 is the count.
And it was hard hit. He's such a good fielder. You know it has to be a pretty good lick to get in on him.
The Brewers have just 3 wins this year when scoring 3 runs or less. Well, they only have 2 tonight. Downstairs, 2-2.
Jose's been guarding the outside part of the plate. He may have to guard it a little bit more here. No, going in.
And got him, struck out the side. So Maddux leads with a flourish. 1-2-3, nothing to it. What a job by him. The crowd behind the Atlanta dugout on their feet, saluting Greg Maddux, and deservedly so. Bottom of the 9th, 2-1 Milwaukee. We go to the last chance for the Braves, bottom of the 9th, and Bob Wickman will come into the game to pitch for Milwaukee. Wright went 8 innings, allowed 5 hits, a run, walked 5, hit 2, threw a wild pitch, struck out 7, and threw a home run ball. But he was brilliant. And you see the numbers on Wickman for the year.
Yeah, and they're outstanding as well. Check out his ERA and his average against him. Only 20 hits in 33 innings. He's 9 out of 10 in save situations, including 5 in a row over his last 5 opportunities. Good sinker ball pitcher himself.
But I say again, I'm glad he's in there. Nothing again. You're right. He's a terrific pitcher, but he can't be any better than Jamie Wright was here tonight. Maddux, by the way, you can figure his night's work is done. He's due up 3rd in this inning. Went 9 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, 1 homer, and got himself a base hit, as did Wright. Well, here we go in the 9th. Last chance for Atlanta. Joyner got things started in the 8th for Atlanta last night with a line double into right center. Wickman delivers, fouled away, 0-1. Keith Lockhart is on deck.
Despite some struggles in the last 2 or 3 weeks, Wally stays aggressive early in the count. Did so last night when he hit the double.
Oh, 0-2. Lopez enters the game to play shortstop. Hayes is over to the first, and Hernandez goes where he likes to go, to third. Oh, 0-2 the count. Well, maybe I should take it back. He didn't look too bad either. 1 away.
Now take a look at this pitch down and in. Good slider.
Now they call Lockhart back and go with Bonilla. With Javi Lopez moving on deck. Wickman out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Lives in Wasaukie, Wisconsin now.
Good hand for Bonilla. They really appreciate what Bobby has done here in Atlanta. Had Joyner reached, they may have used Lockhart in a hit and run or bunt situation. Right now, with nobody on base, you got to go with some thunder sticks.
Bonilla didn't like that call.
Boy, he has been in his best stretch of the season.
1-1 to Bobby Bowe.
And he throws hard too. That was 93. Two really good games back to back.
Ground ball to short. Lopez has a shot. 2 down. So it's all up to Hobby. Neither of these pitchers deserves to lose this one, but somebody has to.
Greg's last loss, his only loss of the year, came at the end of that 15-game winning streak in Los Angeles.
Hobby stands in. Folks are standing in the aisles here to see if he can yank one out of here. Inside, 1 ball, no strikes.
Jamie Wright 1 out away from beating the Braves for his 5th straight start against them.
Started to go. No. 2-0. Rocky Rowe made the call from first base.
Apparently Wickman wasn't too happy about that. He is a big, strong guy.
So's Javi Lopez.
6'1", 235 is what he's listed at.
The 2-0 pitch. Strike called over the inside corner. 2-1.
95 on that fastball. That wasn't something Javi counted on. He wanted something middle of the plate in, but that ball got on him too quickly.
Three and 1. Again, it's a hitter's count.
Yeah, and he'll come out of his shoes here. He might have been surprised on the 2-0 fastball. He shouldn't get surprised here.
The 3-1. Little chopper foul, and it's 3-2.
How about that? A 3-1 slider. Didn't really try to snap off his best slider. He just tried to make sure it was close enough for Javi to swing at. He stayed out over the plate a little bit too.
Whitman takes a little stroll after each pitch. Now he climbs back up on that hill. The payoff pitch. Got him, and the ball game is over. And Milwaukee has evened the series with a 2-1 victory over Atlanta.
And our AutoZone player of the game is that young man right there, 25-year-old Jamie Wright, who wins his 5th straight start against the Atlanta Braves. He recorded 7 strikeouts tonight, 2 in the first, and he got 2 more in the second. Got Maddux again in the 4th inning. Got Andrew Jones in the 7th. Galarraga in the 8th. Quite a night for Jamie Wright. And he pitched around the 5 walks. His defense really played well behind him too, particularly Charlie Hayes, who helped him out in some tough spots. Jamie Wright, our AutoZone player of the game, and we'll be right back. Milwaukee Brewers even the series at 1 game apiece. They win it tonight 2-1, and they snap a 6-game home winning streak for Greg Maddux, despite his 3rd complete game of the season. Runs his record to 9-2 with a loss. And Jamie Wright with his 6th career win against the Braves in 29 career wins as a major leaguer. Hitting hero for the Braves, if you want to call it that. The only run of the night came from Andrew Jones, his 100th career home run. He's the 5th youngest player in Major League history to reach that milestone. And also another long home run tonight by JEROMY BURNITZ, the longest home run in Turner Field history, estimated at 454 feet. That was leading off the 4th inning. That was the last run scored in the ball game, and it turned out to be the difference maker. And it came before the biggest crowd of the year, 49,802.
For the latest scores, in-depth analysis, CNNSI.com/Sports Illustrated at CNN Speed. Our next Braves telecast tomorrow afternoon, 1:05. Braves conclude the homestand against Milwaukee. Next on TBS, Tom Hanks, Dan Aykroyd star in Dragnet on the Movie Lounge, coming up next on TBS. For Joe Simpson, Pete Van Wieren, Don Sutton, our entire TBS crew, Skip Carey from Turner Field. See you tomorrow. So long, everybody.